welcome to Access Europe for our May 2025 meeting, and I'm very pleased to welcome this month very long-term Access MVP. He has been an MVP for almost as long as I've been alive. 27 years is the reality for Karl. He needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway. Self-proclaimed Access swashbuckler, he organises Access DevCon and Access AEK conferences each year, runs the AccessForever website, and also produces the Access News videos. Welcome, Karl. And if you weren't aware already, Karl is going to be talking about how you can deal with problems with Access and Windows updates and how you can minimize the impact of those. There's his website. There's the link where you will be able to get the presentation after this meeting. I will stop sharing now, and Karl, please feel free to take over.
Okay, I'm talking about Microsoft updates. And well, let's begin with contented and happy users of Access. Like on the left, Susie Blunt, who has no clue of Access, just gives in some data. And on the right, the professional, Mr. Brownbeard, and they both are very contented and happy to use Access. Sometimes they get updates, and what can you do if you get updates? Well, you can wait, you can sleep, you get them anyway, and it may last some minutes or hours or whatever. And sometimes after an update, you have strange messages and you have no clue what this is about, but you still can work. There may be something not working, a reserved error minus some thousands, etc. But yeah, you still work, but you're a bit skeptical about that. And sometimes you can't work anymore because you can't open the file or access can't be started. There is no more free memory. And that's the real problem. And these things happen sometimes. And yeah, that's the reaction with both professionals or not. So the first question, as we are medical personnel here, is this a pandemic? Can we call it a pandemic? And so that's the definition of a pandemic according to the Robert Koch Institute, renominated German Institute for Medicine. And it's a new but temporary worldwide spread of an infectious disease, etc. So it's worldwide spread, high numbers of cases and severe causes of the disease. So that would speak for it being a pandemic. But it's not new and it's not temporary. We have this since 20 years or so with Microsoft updates. So it's not really a pandemic. So that's a no. You see it in lists like this, that it's not temporary. We have update bugs like this. This is the list since last May. So in the last year, we had these 9 major update bugs, I would call them. These are the bugs that we documented in AFo articles. I will come to that back later, but essentially these are more widespread or more severe bugs that we document there. And we had 9 there since last year. And in addition to these 9 major bugs or bigger bugs, we had a few not so widespread bugs. And they usually get fixed. Sometimes they even get fixed quickly by feature gates. I come to that later, and we don't document that. So in reality, it was more than these 9, but these were the documented ones. And I have an English conference, and I always compare the numbers of the bugs each year. And last year we had 9, and this year in April we again had 9 over the year. So it's pretty stable what we have here. But mind the gap between August 24 and January 25. So we had about 4 or 5 months without any major bug. And also the 2 bugs this year were quite harmless in comparison to the things we had last summer. So it seems to be a good period. We don't have major bugs and we have big gaps. Since February, there was no major bug again. So it looks good. In the moment, we don't know if it's a coincidence or if they really have a better quality management now in the Access team and at Microsoft. We have to see what the summer brings. because usually the summer, late spring and summer is the worst period. These are the charts on our website in terms of views. What's the most popular bug we had in the last year? It was these two bugs here about hanging access instances. We had more than 8,000 views for this one, about 3,000 for this one. And then we have more than 2,000 for a performance issue and crashes and more than 1,000. That was a bit surprising because this was about generic and text-only printers that didn't work anymore. But it was the audience was quite interested, so it's quite widespread that people use text-only printers still with Access. We had about 1,500 views so far, and that means it's quite a popular bug. And on the other end, well, the Salesforce Connect, it was completely broken, but not even 400 people were interested in that because the Salesforce Connect is only available in the more expensive E3, 5, etc. Subscriptions of 365. So it's not that widespread. And yeah, for example, the query designer, the drag and drop had a problem. I come to that back later. But you see, there are big differences between how widespread is a bug, how severe it is, etc. between the 9. This is a timeline from the last 3 years when the bugs happened. We had 35 update bugs with these sequences here. So you see some gaps. And that's, for example, the gap between August 24 and January and February this year. But seen over several years, it's pretty stable. These are the heavier bugs. It was 35. And we had more than 200 smaller bugs. So I do not invent these numbers. Let's go quickly to the AccessForever website where that figure comes from, because Microsoft publishes monthly lists or almost monthly lists of their bug fixes. And so in 22, we had 54, then we had 88, and then we had 43. And in this year, we again had about 20 or so. So that's where the figure of more than 200 comes from. And not every bug gets documented on their website. We do yearly lists here to consolidate a bit and make it more searchable. But you see on these numbers that it's more than 200, mostly smaller bugs. So these 35 were the heavier bugs, then we have about 200 smaller bugs, and yeah, we already were at the website. I will refer a lot of times here to AccessForever.org. That's a website I founded 3 years ago because 3 years ago I was not very satisfied with the way that Microsoft handled the information about bugs. And I thought, let's do it ourselves. And so I created this website, a blog website, AFO or AccessForever.org. Let's go and quickly have a look there. And we started to document the bugs. And we documented this 35 bugs or so there. And we also do other organizational information there for Access developers and Access users about features or technical findings, about versions and where is Access available, etc., etc. And the latest thing that we did here, the latest section is showcasing Access applications. By the way, let me do a quick ad here. If you have an interesting application in Access, technically interesting or somehow interesting, please contact us and tell us about your interesting application, and we can try to set up an article about it. But that's just one section here. We now talk about bugs again, and we have lists of bugs, yearly lists of bugs, and the major bugs here documented. And yeah, that means it's not only me, because I quickly saw and I knew from the beginning, I do not want to do this alone. So we are a team of 6 people here. If it ever opens, yeah, 6 Access MVPs, including this one you may know, and 2 Americans, and 4 Europeans. No, 3 Europeans and 1 UK. We work together as a team here because the quality is much better and we see much more in the forums, etc. So that's AccessForever.org, just to explain all these links that you will get here also with the slides. What are the major sources of update bugs? Where do we get them? It's not only access changes. Of course, that's the first chapter, so to say. The first source is Office updates and access updates. Here's an example in the last year. From the last year, it was access crashes when filtering forms. That's definitely a completely access-related bug and came from changes in access. And usually when you have a bug in Access, an update bug in Access, it gets fixed rather quickly, sometimes in some hours. I will come to that later, and maximum a few weeks, usually a few days, 1 or 2 weeks maybe, until the next Office update. The second source, major source, is security updates. So these are Windows updates, but especially important for Microsoft because they are security updates. They have a very high priority at Microsoft. And one example from the last year that affected Access was Access and Outlook freezing when you try to send a PDF by email. But it was caused by a security update and it was fixed by a security update. It has almost nothing to do with Access. There was no information about the problem that we had in Access with it. That's another problem. We have the information about it. There's always an issue section at security update articles, but Access is virtually never mentioned there, even if it is affected. And security bugs that come from security updates usually take longer. They may take at least a few days, but usually several weeks until they get fixed with the next security update. And another source, the third big source, is Windows changes. And there are two examples here. The one is the monster bug. That's from, I think, 2018, a very old bug where it says this database is in an inconsistent state. Maybe you've seen that one. It's not entirely fixed, but it's gone away mainly with Windows 11. But it's not completely fixed. Still there a bit. And another one is Access freezes when you copy records. That's the oldest bug that we treat and document on AccessForever.org. It's 2.5 years old and still not fixed. And that's a usual thing with Windows changes. They are the slowest to be fixed. They take months and some years, or like these two, are never fixed so far. So even after some years. Every update bug has some phases. You don't get and experience a bug in a second and know everything about it. It takes days and weeks. So the first phase we have is the rollout of the bug. You have to imagine that Microsoft does rollouts for hundreds of millions of people. Not only Windows, but also Office. They send it out, and if they would do it at once, the internet would come to a halt. So they roll it out over a few days, usually 3 or 4 days. And so also the bugs are rolled out over 2, 3, 4 days. Then there is a clarification phase. There are discussions going on about the problems in forums or mailing lists or at our website, AFO, and this may last, it may be clear after one day because there are many people who have the same problem and it's clear that it was an update. And sometimes it lasts weeks until it's clear because it is a random bug for some people that it's an update bug. So I stayed here 1 or 2 to 10 days, several days until it's clear what is the source and that it is an update bug. Then there are some days that we need or you need to get the information about the bug. Usually we are very quick at documenting it at AFO and also documenting workarounds, but sometimes it takes a few days also for us to clarify things, to write the article, because we always discuss about what are we publishing and what not, because it's not so important or so severe. And then it takes some time until you get a fix. That's the next phase. It has to be, first it has to be reported to Microsoft. There are several ways to report bugs to Microsoft. Then they have to develop a fix and then they have to roll it out. And that may take a day, I come to that later, or it may take forever, like in the two examples I named previously, because of Windows bugs. And then you sometimes, or it's better to get the fix information to you, even if you get the bug automatically. I will come to that later too. But to get the fix information out before it comes and when it comes, after it came, it needs a few days again. So these are the phases of such a bug. Sometimes, I already talked about it, you get very quick fixes in a few hours or a few days, and you can't believe that there was really a problem after that. Sometimes you have doubts about your brain also because you saw a bug, maybe a severe bug, and after restarting Access, it has gone away, and you have doubts about your conscience, etc. But it may just be Microsoft because you can get a fix without any update, without any new version or build that is stated, no information, no transparency. And the reason is there is such a thing as change and feature gate. That's not only Microsoft that are using this technique, but all major software companies use it. And we know this since years. That's Access MVPs. And since 2 or 3 years, we can also talk about it openly because they gave us this statement, and Mike Wolf has documented it here. And they said, when we ship changes, we wrap it into something that's called change gate or feature gate. And when an Office app loads, that's not only Access, but also Word, Excel, etc., they request the status. So they call home to Redmond and ask to determine, should we execute this change gate and this feature that is included or not? And if there is a known regression with a feature, they change a switch in Redmond, and yeah, the code is just not executed, and the issue, the problem goes away. But there's no new version and it's not transparent. That's the problem with this. The positive thing is it can happen very quick. You restart Access and the bug has gone away because the complete feature isn't executed anymore. The change is not executed anymore. And there are some fundamental questions with all of this. Why does this all happen? And so often, I mean, we had this 35 or 235, if we count them all. And the second question, will it happen again? These are the answers. Well, the quality management at Microsoft, you can have doubts about it. I don't go deeper into this. But it's also very complex matter. You have to imagine we have to do with a system, Windows, that's almost 40 years old. And also Access is 33 years old. And yeah, if you think on your own application and like it is historically grown and has its problems, old problems that you even don't remember. And it's the same at Microsoft as at a huge level. Windows is a massive thing. Office, Access is big programs, and it's really complex. And they have to deal not with a few clients as we have, but with hundreds, millions of clients with different hardware and software, etc. So it's quite complex with such old software. And will it happen again? Well, you saw the timeline. Why is it also slow? That could be another fundamental question to pose. Well, at Microsoft, they have lengthy processes. I call it here disconnected from the customer. Maybe a bit hard, but it often seems like that. They have their processes with their updates and their sequences, etc. And another point here is that Access is different from the rest of Office. If you think on Excel or Word, you have a problem in Word, something in formatting doesn't work or so, that's annoying, but okay, it's annoying. Or in Excel, a calculation doesn't work or so. But imagine that in Access, queries don't work or something. And Access applications are often business critical. You can come to a standstill of the complete company by this. So Access doesn't really fit in these lengthy processes that they have for the rest of Office because it's often so business critical. That's another problem that we have as Access developers and Access users. Another fundamental question, can you protect yourself by using older or other versions? Well, when we talk about 2010, 13, or 2007, they are all out of support. And this really often helps. It helps especially when the source of the bug is Office and Access. As I named the sources there, it was Access Security Windows, and it helps with Access and Office bugs usually. It doesn't help that much with security and Windows bug because these are more general and often even affect the old ACCDPs or MDPs. But it helps sometimes if you use versions that are out of support. Of course, it's not always possible to do this because you have security things, etc., or whatever regulations in a company. What if you use perpetual versions, 2016 and now until 2024? Well, it usually doesn't help at all because these are perpetual versions with different features, etc. But the bits in the background are the same than what you get with 365. So that's not much different. And usually they have the exact same bugs that 365 has. Third measure could be to use SQL Server's backend, and this sometimes helps when it's a really access-specific bug. But we also had some major bugs that only affected ODBC connections, SQL Server, and so it sometimes helps, and sometimes it's the contrary. And the overall fundamental questions that we hear often is a kind of trust crisis, especially when there are a lot of heavy bugs. Then people, companies, IT departments often ask, is Access still trustworthy for our business critical question? And this is the applications. And this is the question we should avoid. So there should not be so many heavy bugs to hear that, but you hear it sometimes with IT departments. As a good doctor, the first thing that I prescribe is prevention. You have to do a healthy living style and not the thing that the Germans do here. So prevention is a very important thing. What can you do to prevent yourself from bugs, from update bugs? The most important thing is to choose the right update channel for your company and for your business. And these are the choices for the channels, for the update channels. The standard channel, when you install Office and Access, is the current channel. And you get at least one update a month, sometimes two or even three updates in a month. Then there is a slower channel, a monthly enterprise channel, where you get usually one update per month on the Patch Tuesday. That's the second Tuesday each month. And then there are the slow channels, two slow channels. That's semi-annual enterprise channel preview, where the updates happen in March and September. And the really slow one, where the updates happen 4 months later in July and January. And then there are the inside or beta channels where you get weekly updates or the current channel preview with several updates a month. But these are the productive channels, and don't stay in the current channel. That's the first thing you should do. I come to that later. And that's an example of the rollout of a new feature, like the modern charts or the Monaco editor. They had almost exactly these time frames. When a new feature comes out in the current channel in October, like October 18th, that Patch Tuesday, it comes to the monthly enterprise channel about 4 weeks later on Patch Tuesday. And it comes to the semi-annual channel preview in March, so that's 6 months later, and to the real semi-annual enterprise channel even 4 months later. So there's a long time frame. That's also the reason why you see some features very long in the Access roadmap. Like the modern charts or Monaco. They started last August and September, but they are still not rolled out completely to the slowest channels. They are still in the late rollout phase. And we have some recommendations on AFo and AccessForever.org, what channel to choose. The majority of your users should use the slowest update channels that you feel comfortable with. So that's okay for you, use the slowest thing. I mean, there are security reasons to go to quicker channels, to faster channels, but take the slowest that you can take and use. And another recommendation is a few of your users could be in a channel that's one phase quicker. to allow identification of random bugs, because the normal bugs, you see them in forums, etc., but bugs that are not so easy to identify in your application, that's a good measure if you have some users who have a newer phase, a newer update channel, and test it there. And the insider channels, these beta channels, should really only be used by IT staff or developers for test purposes. That's our recommendations. And now I will show you how to switch the channel, because I said standard is current channel, and that's a quick channel. You shouldn't use the standard channel in your productive scenario usually. And we have a long article about this at AFO written by Peter Doering. Let me go quickly there. How to change the channel. Because an important point is I will demonstrate you a version of updating or changing the channel that uses this button here, the update channel button. And you may not have seen that ever in your life, because usually you don't get it. Even if you are the administrator or the only user on your machine, usually you don't see this update channel button in your files, in your backspace there, because yes, if you have a consumer channel, personal or family subscription, you may see this here. You can choose between insider and current channel, but as a normal user, you don't see the update channel. And the trick is you can get this update channel with a change in your registry. And we even have a download here provided by Peter Doering that you get all these channels here behind your update channel. You will see it in a minute. And then you can do this. There are other methods. This is a good method if you have a few machines, your own machines, a few systems with users. This is the best method that I will show you now. If you have 100 machines to update, you will use the Office deployment tool. That's an XML thing that is provided by Microsoft and also explained in the article. But I will show you a different method here. And yeah, again, you need this update channel button, and I quickly showed you how to get it. And I will do the demo in a video, because it takes 10 or 15 minutes to download all the things. That's why you will see a video now, how it is done. So we are here in the backspace of Access, and we are in the current channel in the version 2504. And well, first thing is you have to say, I will manage my update channels, not Microsoft. And then with this registry trick I showed you, you have a choice of channels here, and I will take the monthly enterprise channel. So I will switch from the current channel to the monthly channel. Okay, and I say, yes, you can do the changes. And then it starts to look for updates, checking for updates, and then it will download the updates. And this download, I did this video a few days ago. You see it on the new version 2504, and it needed 15 minutes or so for downloading. That's why I shortened it, of course. And here it takes just a few seconds, and then it's applying the updates. You have to save your work, okay. Then it's again applying updates, closing apps, and again applying updates. And this may take again 2 or 3 minutes. To apply the updates, I shortened it again. And after applying the updates, it reopens Access. And if we go back to Files account, you see that we are now in the monthly enterprise channel and in an older version here, 2502, so in the February version. So that's the trick to change your update channel. First, get the update channel button, and then choose the channel and do all the things that you have seen in the video here. Are there any questions about these things so far?
There's one general question early on from Chris. We know about the stats for Access, the number of bugs and the frequency of major bugs. Do you have any information about how that compares with other Office apps such as Excel? Obviously, in some cases, things apply to both, but do you have any information?
According to what I know, it's essentially the same. They have also a lot of bugs, even better documented by Microsoft. And in principle, it's the same thing that you have to do. So
Okay.
this also applies to Excel, PowerPoint, Word, whatever, all of Office.
Yeah. Right, there were two very specific questions about individual bugs. One that Alessandro is having with copy and paste. Philip answered that one. Philip Stiefel answered that one, and Crystal's got a problem with the VBE. I think we'll leave them till later if it's
Okay.
worth coming back to them. So that's all the questions. Lots of discussion, but that's all the questions.
Okay, then I continue. The important thing as medicals, personals here is diagnosis, of course. What we usually do in the hospital here when it comes to diagnosis, you have to consult the doctor, you have to examine the patient, there's a medical history and anamnesis, and sometimes in severe cases you have to do a triage. And essentially we have to do the same when it comes to our problems here. You have to examine access and your application. I don't know if you can see this, but this time it's about 40 degrees here that are measured very quickly. So we have a problem here. That's examining. And what do we do to examine our applications and access? What should we do? First, don't only test if you find a problem in your application. Don't only test it with always the same application. Use a different database. And if it's possible, it depends a bit on the kind of bug. Use a new database. Maybe import the things that you need to get the bug into a new database, but it's essential that you try it with a new file. So these are two things. If you can, use a different computer and test it there. This excludes a lot of things that you think it's an update bug and may not be. We have a lot of false negatives, so to say, about when it comes to bug reports. And if the question is it really an update bug or some older bug that I never have seen? Well, that is something you can test when you go back to a previous build. I will show the next demo in a few minutes. If you have the problem in the current build, like in the version 2504, that's the April version of this year, then you could go back to the March build and look if with the exact same database, exact same circumstances, only that the build changed. If it's not there in the older build, then it's very probably an update bug. And yes, this may seem logical, but don't spend days or weeks with testing this, but just a few hours. It may sound ridiculous to you, but if we discuss this when we discuss this in forums, there are always people coming in late and telling us, well, for weeks I had this problem, couldn't work with Access, and now I see it's this and that, because they didn't do this simple test here and spent days or weeks without going to the internet. And that's the next thing. First, examine and test, do these steps here, and then go to websites and inform yourself in the internet. And previously, there was a Microsoft website about access bugs, but it died 2 years ago. Let me go quickly there, because here it says, well, last updated in February 24, that's rubbish. They maybe updated some text somewhere, but the latest bug they handled here is from March 23. And essentially, they stopped it when they saw that we do good work at AccessForever, because now they can concentrate on fixing bugs and not writing articles. They didn't do it very well, technically, yes, but very slow. And so they decided to stop it in 23 and let us do the documentation work. That's my interpretation. They wouldn't say it like this, but it looks very much like this. Why? I mean, it was a big advantage that it was an official Microsoft site, but it was never up to date. It was slow. It didn't document all the bugs or all the important bugs, but it was a bit random. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, etc. So we are a private website, and that's a disadvantage, but it has some advantages. We are much faster. We put out articles in a few hours. We tell you workarounds in a few hours. We give you updates about dates or status, etc., much quicker than Microsoft had done it before. We have a lot of connections in the community. We are 6 people and we are in about maybe 30 forums or so. So we see things. We get a lot of information from you and from the people who are affected. We get a lot of emails, comments on the website AccessForever.org. And in the end, we are collaborating with the Access team. This is not at all against Microsoft and not at all against the Access team, what I tell you here. We are do a lot of collaboration with the Access team. We report bugs to them. We send them reproduction scenarios or databases. We get information from them when we are working on it. We are investigating. We are working on a bug fix. It will happen then and then. So there's a lot of collaboration going on. We are insiders because we have direct connections as MVPs. So these are the advantages of AFO. Another thing, you should go to forums. That's also our main source for information about bugs. I just name a few here. That's the Microsoft Answers forums. They, of course, exist in English, but also in some other languages. Like this is the German one, there's an Italian one, a French one, Spanish one, etc. So you can write in your own language, not only English. Tech Community is also another Microsoft website. And yeah, of course, there are private websites like Access World Forum, at Access, you name it. There are a lot of good forums out there. The essential thing is that you should choose a forum where there are many current or former Access MVPs. That's this insider thing. They have direct contact with Microsoft. We discuss as MVPs or ex-MVPs, we discuss a lot and get better information usually. So try to be in a forum where you meet Colin or whomever who is an Access MVP. And of course, the people from the AFO team. If they are present in the forum, you have a good chance to get good information about the bugs. If you're writing a post, this may again seem simple to you, but 90% of the posts are not as they should be because people are excited, they are angry about the bugs, and they miss a lot of information, and it takes longer. It takes days longer often to get the important information out of them. State your Windows version when you do a post. It's an easy thing, but yeah, 90% don't state their Windows version. State the exact behavior of the bug. What are you doing step by step? The best thing is you deliver a reproduction scenario. You deliver pictures. You give us a reproduction file. That's the best thing. If we can reproduce it in our machines, we can give it to Microsoft, to the Access team, and they can reproduce it. That's the most important thing, reproduction, also at Microsoft. Then they can only start to work at fixes. Not prior reproduction. There's no chance. So give us step-by-step things. And the very important thing seems easy again. Give us your real Access and Office version, your build, your bitness, your update channel. State this in your posts. And that's not as easy as it seems because what we need is this number here. So you go to Files, Account, and this is the correct version and build here, and this is the channel. And you should state these also, even if it's not possible here to copy it, give us this information because many people go to About Access. Don't do this. If you go to About Access, you get this information here. And the only good thing here is the bitness. That's what you get in the About Access window. But this thing here is rubbish, often rubbish, because it's the number, the build of the MSO DLL. That's just one of the DLLs that gets updated in an Office update, but it's not always updated. And that's the problem. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 versions behind that, what you see in this window here. This is often more current and newer than what you see here. So don't take the build number from here, please, because that's often rubbish and old. You can just take the bitness from here, but not the build number. Another thing I like in bugs, because in the forums, the Access forums, they go down since 20 years, they go down, and less people write there. But let it come to bugs, real heavy bugs. Then we have 46K readers here, or 4,000, 7,000 readers, and 100 plus contributions. So you really see people still use Access, but they have to get a heavy bug so that they are visible, because nowadays they use AI or whatever, and a lot of things are known and old in Access knowledge, and they don't have to go with every question to forums. But when it comes to bugs, I like it. There is life in the forums. Let me come to the thing. If you now have determined that you really are the victim of an update bug, you need first aid, often at least. And sometimes you have to do a triage. That's a German triage system in 4 categories. It may be life-threatening, a very heavy bug or condition. It may be severe, but not life-threatening. It may be a minor injury, or the most harmless thing is when you are dead. You don't need any treatment anymore. So that would be and it's quite similar to what you have to do with an update bug. The main question is, can you live with the update bug until it gets fixed? This may be a few days, it may be weeks, months, years, whatever. Can you live with it? That's the first question that you have to pose yourself. If you can live with it and just maybe tell your customers or whatever, there's a bug, don't look at it, it will get fixed somewhere. It's not that severe. Then you don't have to do nothing than to wait for a bug fix. But if not, you have to find and to apply workarounds, quick workarounds, sometimes very quick, if you have a standstill in your company or at your client. And of course, the first website where you should go is AccessForever.org, and you should go to the forums, as I mentioned, to get these workarounds. And there are different kinds of workarounds. Easy workarounds where you change a bit in your code or your query or whatever in your settings. And there are heavy workarounds where you would have to change a lot of your code and you can't roll out that to 100 clients. So very different workarounds. And the first aid and to relieve the pain, usually that you can apply every time if it's an update, but is go back to a healthy build. Roll your version back, roll your build back. And this is the next demo that I will do. And the first thing in this process is you have to disable updates, because otherwise you get it back, the new and buggy version again. Second step, determine your current version and channel. Determine the last working version. That's often a matter of discussion. Well, who did have the problem in which version? Or a matter of trial and error that you can do. And then perform the rollback. And that's what I will show you now. I will show you how to do a rollback from the current version. This was the current version until yesterday. Yesterday, they put out a new version, a new build, but when I did the video 2 days ago, this version was the current one in the current channel. And let's say for this example that this version and this build had an update bug. So I want to go, this is the April build, 0403 was the March build, and this was saying this was okay. And I want to roll back to this 03 and to the build with 208 in the end. We again have a long article, again by Peter Doering, describing all the methods that you can do to roll back your version. I will show you again the best and the easiest version, but you may again need the Office deployment tool. If you are the admin for 300 systems or so, 300 machines, you will use ODT. I will show you the easy thing, the Office click-to-run client exe method. And here you find all the details, you get the links, you get the slides. And by the way, this is our most popular article with almost 14,000 views. Because it's not only Access people that use these methods. A lot of Excel people, for example, use exactly the same method. This was a question before, to get to to an older version of Excel. It's not only Access, but it completely works for Access and all Office application. So let me show you another video, because it again takes 10 or 15 minutes to do all the downloading. So we start with, stopping the updates, disable updates. You can choose this. Yes, I'm sure I want to do it. And now it becomes yellow and it says this product will not be updated. Important point. Otherwise you get the false build again. We are in the current channel, version 2504. Okay, then we have to determine the good old version, the good old build. In this case, it's the March build, and we need this build number here. I copy that because we needed to go back to it, to roll it back. And now we can close access because we have to do this from the command prompt. So we go to the command prompt, cmd, for calling the dose prompt, and you have to run it as administrator. Very important point, otherwise it won't work. Then the command prompt opens, and we essentially have to do two comments here. You could do it in one, but we first change directory to click to run, and then we do this exe, and at the end you see 208. That's the thing I copied over from the Microsoft website. I tell it to go back to this build. You get the exact thing you need here in the article that is linked here. And now it starts, like before, downloading Office updates, and it needs 10 or 15 minutes. And of course, I shorten it again. And now it's applying the updates, and yes, 2-3 minutes, again shortened here. And now I open Access, go back to account, and still not updating, important thing. And we are now in the current channel, but in the March build here, in the older build, 208 something. So that's the method to roll back your build. Any questions to this, Colin?
Is there a way of doing that rollback for a whole company rather than on an individual workstation basis? Can you roll it out?
Yeah, you have to use the Office deployment tool for this XML tool, and distribute it, doing company-wide rules and the Office deployment tool. This, what I showed here, is for individual computers. For a few, if you have a few hundred, you will use rules for the whole company that you can do. There are tools there for administrators and the Office deployment tool to do the rollback.
Just before Neil came in, I was actually going to repeat Neil's question, but my microphone was still off. I think we've answered it, Neil, in the chat. Are you happy with that about slow channel? I'm not sure anything that can be answered. Anything can be added?
I think the answer is there isn't a magic bullet.
That's right.
The point I was making was I found myself in a situation where the Edge browser was crashing a mission critical system. So I rolled it back, and then what happened was another bug fix for another system didn't come out. So I went on to the slow, but by going back to the 6 monthly channel, I found that when they did finally fix it, I had to wait another 4 months for the fix to come through.
Yeah, there is no magic bullet.
I just think there's no magic bullet. There used to be in Windows Update the ability to selectively switch off patches, but I was asking if there's any way of doing that really.
I think there are still some tools to do that for administrators, but it's it's a complete different job than we do here as Access developers. This administration thing and all the tools that they have.
Right, and just before you continue, Karl, there was several people were asking about how we can collect all this information via VBA. So I've given the link to my add-in utility to do that, but I will show what it looks like after you've finished.
One more question. What about PowerShell?
Sorry, who is that? Is that Melvin?
No, that's Klaus here.
Oh, sorry, Klaus. Go ahead.
No problem. I just asked if someone has done it with PowerShell. I think that would be the easiest way.
Even easier than what I showed now with all these graphical things, because this is something where you have to click and copy and paste and it's done. I think that's quite easy what I did here.
Yeah, I mean
PowerShell, with PowerShell, there's a step further. I think you have to be acquainted with PowerShell.
Yeah, I just asked. No, I think PowerShell not
work
for
with.
a
You can
simple
do
one.
almost everything with PowerShell, but you have to be able to use it. That's another step, another problem for many people. Okay.
Okay, one more question just come up. Chris again. What are the real risks, benefits of joining the Insider program?
Well, you always get the latest features if you are interested in new features. That's the main benefit that you have there. But you always also get the latest bugs. It's nothing for production scenario. It's if you are curious, if you want to see the latest features, if you want to test them out, give feedback to Microsoft, then you are right in the beta channels. Otherwise, not for production.
Yeah, I would agree with that totally. And even more so for Windows. Do not join the Canary channel,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called these days. I did once and it was a massive mistake. Right, please carry on, Karl.
Okay, it's just a few things I have to do because we're at 50 minutes right now. Finally, if everything works, you get the healing thing here and you can try it yourself, but usually that's not a good thing. Let Microsoft fix the bug. And yeah, this is how it is done. You need a fix here, and you usually get a fix. There are a few bugs that never got fixed. I named the two that we know so far, but usually you get a fix. And normally this fix happens automatically. You get it with the next update, you apply it, but nevertheless, it's better if you find information. When will the fix come? That's a good information for you also to decide, can I live with it for another week? Or will it last a month or so? And at AFO, I even don't use the link here, we often know when will the fix come, when it is planned from the Access team, because we talk to them. And this is an important information before the fix comes to let you know when do you have the chance to get the fix. And the other aspect here is that often you can apply it faster because, as I said before, it often takes up to 4 days until all the updates are sent out all over the world. And you can do update now in your backstage here to get it immediately. But you have to know, of course, that there is a bug. So go to AFO, and if we say there the fix is out, do an update now. We usually give this information in the article, in the status there. And yes, I'm at the end. This is the most important advice I can give you, as every good doctor will give you. The most important thing to stay healthy. And yes, it will happen again. Are there any questions left, Colin?
Tim asked, sorry if I may just jump in. Tim asked if this applies to the whole of Office. What you've looked at and shown would apply to the whole. I've said I think it must do.
Yes.
Is there any way of differentiating? I think that's what he was interested in.
No, you always roll back the complete Office. It's not just Access. It's always the complete package. Usually no problem. I mean, if you don't have a politics in the company that's against this. Any other questions or reactions or comments?
I had a quick question. I put it in the chat. This is Jon Halder. I was just wondering if anybody has created any automated tools to do any of this. I mean, it seems like that might not even be possible because of the time it takes to, create a new installation. But like, for example, I have an application, I'll put a new version of it out there for my users. They'll just automatically get it when they open the application again, right? And if I determine that I want to, that it doesn't work anymore and with a current update, and I want them to be rolled back, rather than calling my 20 users and telling them all, oh, you got to do these steps. I mean, it is pretty simple, right? But is there an automated way that anyone has come up with to do that?
I think you would use this Office deployment tool. You can do everything with this XML file that you distribute, or you do it centrally as admin, and you can apply this update or this rollback with the Office deployment tool in your complete net. So that would be the way for administrators.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
It's just a bit more complicated or a different way than what I showed you here. And you can find all the necessary information in the articles that are linked in my slides here.
Thank you, Karl. There's a lot of very positive feedback from your comments there. Are there any questions for Karl? I'll show what that version checker of mine looks like in a second. Are there any other questions for Karl, whether I've missed them or with something you thought of just now? Please turn your microphone on if you wish to say anything. And while we're giving people a chance to do that, Klaus has turned his microphone on. Before I come over to you, Klaus, and just to say thank you for your very thorough, very clear explanation about the different ways of changing channels, rolling forward, not rolling forward in the sense of change channel, and rolling back. Klaus, would you like to speak?
See, I wanted to say exactly the same thing.
Go on. Well, obviously we are telepathic. Right, I'm going to share my screen. So that's what the thing looks like. It's available as an add-in, in which case you don't get the VBA references, or it's available, in which case you do get the VBA reference tab if you want that, or it's available as a standalone app. It takes literally 2 seconds to get out all that information. And in the latest version, which I haven't released for some reason, I also collect the Office and the Windows languages as well. So all of that information is available, and then you can get your clients to forward that to you either with a text file, or they can actually just put it into the clipboard and paste it into something else. And that's what the references look like. So,
and in the next version, Colin, you will include also the rollback version, the latest good version, yeah, that people need.
no, because that would be impossible to keep a check on that. But it works anyway. So I can add other things that are actually worth putting in there in a serious way. But I think the languages are worth adding there. Right. So any other points, questions for Karl?
I think they all fell asleep. I don't see questions in the chat here.
Oh, no, they're all... Oh, Ben, you've been unusually quiet for you. I didn't even know you were here. By the way, we've had over 30 people here. That's partly due to Karl's star attractive personality and also knowledge that he shares to us so well.
I think everybody's keen for medical advice. That's the
they
point
certainly
here.
are. Ben, would you like to ask the quack a question?
Yes, I just want to confirm that you are encouraging us to submit our bug reports to you and to your website.
Yes, because that's a subject I didn't explain in depth, because there are different ways to report bugs to Microsoft, but it's not that easy to reach the Access development team for the normal user. So the best thing to do is to post in forums where we are, people from AFO or former or current MVPs, what I named here, because we then discuss it and we get it over to Microsoft. And as I said, the best thing is if you can give us some step-to-step thing, because the big problem usually is reproduction. It's really the biggest problem that we have with these bugs.
Okay.
And realistically, we pass things on when we begin to get more than one report. If it's only a single person, we all have idiosyncrasies in our machines. I have one particular bug that nobody else seems to have. Then we don't pass it on. If there's something that 3 or 4 people say, we pass it on, we give the links, and they usually respond very quickly. Not always, but usually.
Or if we get a really good reproduction scenario, even if it's just the first user that's noticing it, if it's a really good reproduction scenario and we can reproduce it, we can give it to Microsoft, they can reproduce it, that's also a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. I just wanted to clarify, because a lot of Ben's question seemed to be asking, if we have a bug, or we think we have a bug, do we pass it to AccessForever? And the answer seemed like yes, but then it was no. You don't pass it to AccessForever.
We discussed
in forum sites.
We discussed this in the group. If we want to set up a forum or a post where you can just send us your bugs, and the decision was no, because we found that it's better to use forums and the swarm intelligence to get feedback from much more people than we get at AccessForever.org. So we decided to not deliver a ready-made bug formula or so, because we want to go to forums. We want to have 10 people or 100 people stating their problems or not having the problem. That's in our experience, that's better than just 1 or 2 people mentioning it at our website.
I have to say, I think that's That makes perfect sense to me. I just wanted to make it clear that
Yeah.
if anyone had misunderstood earlier, don't go straight to you, go to the forums and you will pick it up because you've got people across all of the forums.
Thanks, Adrian. But that's really, we discussed it and decided against it.
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Can I make a
George?
point? I just wanted to reinforce what Karl said by pointing out that if we open the door for people to report bugs, they will feel free to report complaints and miseries as well.
And they usually don't do these test steps that I had there with different database, different machine, and different build, but they just go there and shout, I have a bug, Microsoft is the worst thing in the world. And yeah, our time is precious.
Yeah.
And it's often
what
not
I
a bug.
wouldn't do, yeah.
Even.
What I wouldn't do is go to the feedback portal with any bugs, because that is not that. Although that is checked by the Access team, it's not checked on a very frequent basis, and it also may not be seen by any of us. Okay, I think we've covered everything. If you can hang around, Karl, come back if there's any additional points later on. I'm going to move us on. As I said, come back to Karl if there's any additional questions later. And in a month's time, on Wednesday, the 4th of June, I'm pleased to welcome a new presenter to us, Domenico Ruggiero, who is also known as the software maestro. So we go from the Access swashbuckler to the software maestro, and Domenico will be talking about linking Access to various different applications, which he calls orchestrating Office. Domenico, would you like to give us a brief explanation of what you're doing next month?
I'd be happy to, and thank you very much, Colin, for the opportunity to present to this wonderful group of people. I know I'm in like company here, and we love what we do with Microsoft Access. And as I have been with the group just briefly, and going also through the backlog of videos from past meetings, I certainly see that there are plenty of great discussions talking about Access working with SQL Server. And that's a natural pairing that goes with a front-end user interface to the power of SQL Server with queries and stored procedures and all of the other benefits that come with working those two things together. But my presentation is going to take the interaction of Access into other applications as well. Commonly, the other Microsoft Office suite of applications, such as Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and so on. It's not limited to that, and so part of my presentation will just be speaking about the framework or the application of this so that you can take away from it a better understanding of how can you go and explore what other building blocks exist for you to be able to plug in additional functionality to your to your Access databases. And so one of my case studies is going to talk about Access and that it does work with SQL Server, but then goes ahead and also generates like a cost management report in Excel, something that was done for a client that in the past he had to spend so many hours after the workday was over, after everybody else left the office, to the extent that he ended up being there past midnight, and just to be rushed and ready to go for the next day at the office, he would spend one night a week sleeping on a cot in his office. It wasn't worth it for him to go home tired and just only get a few hours of sleep. And so the automation and the case study that I'll show to you meant that now he's able to just pick a couple of selections, the jobs that he needs to run, push a button, walk away, and let the computer do the job for him. So again, that'll be a real life case example that we'll be looking at. And I look forward to sharing all this with you in June's meeting.
Thank you ever so much, Domenico. We're looking forward to that. And just to say that if anyone was expecting my presentation on what I hope will by then be released to at least the beta channel on large monitor support and responsive forms has now been shifted to July, and I very much hope I don't have to shift it back by another month, but I have a workaround if necessary for that. And can I just mention also that 2 of the items that didn't make the roadmap either have been released or are about to be released. Those of you that use code signing certificates may be pleased to know that you can now, in the beta channel anyway, use them from the command line, which will be significantly faster way of signing projects if you have a number of those to do. And secondly, the improvements to the Monaco SQL editor, such as almost instantaneous loading, that will be available in the beta channel probably in the next update this week. It's already faster, but not yet instantaneous. So that will be starting to roll out as well. Right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely evening. Get the Karl's presentation off my website, let's say tomorrow, and also the video early next week. We will see you all in a month's time for the presentation from the space station. Cheers again. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
again, Karl. Cheers.